Welcome back, entrepreneurs and tech enthusiasts, to another episode of Yes Users podcast. I'm your host, Avinash Tripathi, and today we have a guest who has been at the forefront of gaming innovation for almost 2 decades. Our guest is none other than Mr. Abhinav Chokhavatia. He is the CEO and founder of Zatun, a game development studio that is doing the amazing work. And he is also director at Hello Metaverse, a venture that is kind of redefining digital entertainment. Abhinav has an impressive track record with over 20 games developed for diverse platforms, and he also has numerous awards under his belt. So get ready for an enlightening conversation packed with insights, stories, and some rapid fire fun. So let's jump right in. So, Abhinav, thanks a lot for joining us today on the Yes Users podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
For our listeners who are not aware of you and your startup,
Right.
Can you give them a short and crisp introduction of yourself and Zatun?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhinav Chokhavatia. I am the CEO and founder of Zatun. We have a game, an indie game studio based out of Ahmedabad, and we have been up and running since 2007. We started off doing art services, then moved to doing our own IP, then moved to doing dev, and then moved to VR. So now we work across two major verticals, which is we do work for hire for clients, and we work on our IP as well. Speaking about our IP, we started off doing games way back in 2009. We released our first game called Legend of Us in 2010, then worked on multiple iOS and Android games. And then in 2016-17, we took the ship to VR. And we have released 2 VR games till date. The first one was called Sniper List VR, which came out in 2018. And the game update was in 2019. That game was Oculus Rift and Oculus and HTC and other devices. The second game is done now, for which 2 versions were released in 2021 and 4 versions were released in 2023. And on the services side, we have worked with classic 2K, Wargaming, Disney, Ubisoft, Gameloft, Playbank, Network Lost Turn to name a few.
Wow, thanks a lot for that intro. So Abhinav, after Shark Tank, startups have become cool. So
Right.
I'll borrow a line from them. Is that
Right.
आपका focus सही नहीं है. You are in B2B space and B2C space, and that's what out. And this is kind of a conventional wisdom as well that
Right.
to choose your target audience.
Right.
Right. So what is your answer to people who raise this question before you?
So I think, the B2B space, that's getting super crowded. And also somehow, down the years, they both complement each other, right? So games that we have done under our IP sort of make us stand out in the B2B space. So people say, okay, here's a studio that is not only doing services, they also have a lot of the IP. So we understand how games are developed. So we have that knowledge because we ourselves do it. We understand the limitation and the frustration that are there. So we know how to go about that. On the B2C side of things, we have people saying, okay, the games are good, but they have worked with so many clients. That experience helps us in both. The both kind of complement each other down the line.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. So what is the business distribution at this moment? How much is B2B and how much is B2C?
So I think now it's pretty much half and half. So we focus on the service side of things as things are moving or have it moved. We focus on that. We also look at new platforms and new IPs that we want to develop because, I think developing our own games gives us that freedom to express ourselves. And we also learn a lot. What started as a single game way back in 2009-10, we just kept on doing it, right? So we have learned so much over the years as to, what not to do as well as what to do. So I think that experience has really helped us kind of move ahead.
Wow. Great insights there. So a lot of people like me who don't even understand how a game is developed, right? We like games. They are available for free now. even though they are inundated with microtransactions. So how the whole process actually works? You have developed so many games. Can you take one of your games as an example and tell us how the whole process actually works?
Sure. So everything starts from an idea. This is a game that I want to develop. And I mean, no one just starts coding and, doing art from day one, right? So we start off with the idea and then we look at what other games are there in the similar genre. What has been done? What is the art style like? What are the reviews that are there, right? We look at all of that. When we decide on that game, we are brainstorming like 10 or 12 different ideas. It's not one idea that we are focusing on. So we brainstorm, say maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 different ideas. We look at different platforms as to which platform to develop for, because now we have developed on so many platforms. So the biggest question that comes in when before we decide on, what the game is about is what platform should we make on? Because, we have PlayStation developers, we develop in VR, we develop on PC as well. So we have a lot of platforms to choose from. So first question is, okay, what platform should we develop on? Second question is, what should we work on? To give an example, VRandAR was just supposed to be a small demo, right? We didn't plan it to be that big or that, to kind of make it into a complete game. So after Sniper West, we were brainstorming different ideas. We brainstormed a lot of different ideas. And we had this idea about, an alien being stuck in an alien planet where, you had to use your superpowers to kind of move out. And that looked pretty amazing. But, we didn't have the time or the budget to make it. So then we thought of, how about having this more like a open world game where, you can sort of move around and fight with people, like a Street Fighter thing, but in open world, and you can fight with people and, you can do different quests. So that idea sort of looked good. We moved ahead with that. But from there, we kind of exploring and became a full-blown game. And we said, this is what we want to make. So we had based up at least 10 or 20 different ideas before now. We had done like multiple pitches. Once the idea is finalized, we do like a single pitch, one-page pitch as to what the game is about, how it will work on. And that looks good. We make like a full blown like a 5 or 6 page pitch. Then we work on the game design document. So that's how the process starts. And we don't start coding or art from day one. So everything is on paper first. Idea moves to pitch moves from a single page to 5 pages. Then it moves into like, sort of a bigger game design document. Then it moves to like a rough prototype build. Then, the art and everything sort of starts to all come in. So we had done like 10 pitches and, even made a few pitch checks and stuff like that. But, it never sort of okay, this is what you want to do, this is what you do. So somehow down not sort of, felt good, thought it might be a fun game. And that is sort of slowly move ahead with that. But now I think if I may add, as someone is going to develop, I think the first thing that they need to look at, I think we need to be a bit more realistic. And I think we're learning that is to, make sure that you figure out the target audience, you figure out the fan base, you figure out the community part of it. And then, once you've done that, then you make a game that appeals to them.
No, that's really interesting. So what are contained in these pitches and to whom these pitches are being made? Can you show us one of our like earlier pitches?
I can.
Not confident.
Yeah, sure. So just give me a minute. So the pitches that are internal, right? So they are all internal pitches.
Right.
Just give me a second. Just share. Let me see if I have this. Okay, I'll just share the screen. I think this might be, again, this is something that we normally use, so that's fine.
It's fine, absolutely, yeah. So we'll get to see, like, how this thing actually happens.
But here we are. Okay, can you see the screen?
Right, I can see the screen now. Awesome. I can see the screen now. Awesome.
Right. So we have multiple titles over here. But first is Escape from Giant.
Right.
We have just given like a single page that this is what the Escape from Giants will be like. This is how it will be. How will the player move? So this is just a very simple one, right? Not too detailed. But then we go to something like Sharks Mania. Again, very detailed. 45-second space where boy will be in a raft and you have to, the sharks will be close by and they have to kind of move out. Now this becomes a bit more detailed when you go into something like this, that you have an elephant kind of a 2D side pulling game where elephant is racing. So you kind of decide what procedure you're going to have and how you're going to do it, right? So this again becomes very detailed. Like you decide as to how the player is going to jump and what's going to happen.
Right.
Then you kind of jump onto, say, a pitch deck where you kind of decide, okay, this is the title, what platform, what genre, what weightings, what mode, what gameplay time, what are the game images, what is the USP, right? So then you kind of make a very detailed pitch deck, and this pitch deck is kind of dependent on the single page document that you saw earlier, right?
Right. So right now there is no animation, no coding happening right now.
Nothing. It's first is just picture, just trying to challenge just options. First is just to kind of get an idea as to what we are doing, right?
Right.
We have like 30, 40, 50, 100 kind of pictures, jobs just lying there, right? So we just kind of don't move ahead with it. We just kind of keep it simple, and then we kind of figure out, okay, the team based on what should we do, how should we move.
It's like software companies, we have this title called product manager or product owner, right? So in game development, who is the main guy who is handling everything for this or for a particular game?
I think it's going to be a game producer who's going to be handling it. But since the producer in-house, it's mostly me and the leads who kind of take care of.
Right. So they are responsible. They come up with the idea. They think, like this is what we are saying. So they set up like a one-pager, then a five-pager, then a pitch.
Right. So the team, so sometimes I have ideas, sometimes the team has ideas. We all kind of brainstorm. The game designer is a person who kind of does all the pitch work, right? So he does maybe a single one-page pitch, then a 5-page pitch / a small UDD, then a sort of a pitch deck sitting down with the rest of the people, including me, the leads, the marketing guys, everyone, right? And then you kind of go into a full-blown game design document.
This kind of always appeared as a mystery to me, right? How like the ideas turn into a full 3D animations. Like what kind of software? How does that transformation actually happens?
So what we do then is once everything is done, okay, so this is the art style we're gonna have. This is how we're gonna have it. Then we sort of moved on to doing, say, placeholder art. We started working on characters. The characters get animated. Then they come into the game. We do the environments that comes into the game. The programmers then work on the gameplay. They work on the game mechanics. The person doing the level does the level design for the level. So it all just sort of comes to place at the same time.
So if somebody wants to become a game developer, what kind of skills or softwares he or she should be mastering?
So if someone wants to become a game developer and someone wants to code, I think they need to learn the either Unreal or Unity 3D game engine. Both I think Unreal is C++ and Unity uses C#. So they need to learn both these languages depending on the engine that they go for. Also, game development is not just programming, it's also a lot of creative as well. So there needs to be some idea on that. For someone looking into art, they need to, for doing characters, they need to learn about anatomy, they need to learn about, poses, characters, everything. Someone doing, stuff like art surface, stuff like, buildings or small appliances, machines, stuff like that. They need to learn about what stuff looks like, how materials look. So there's a lot of different things that go into, creating a game, right? And each and every one has their own plus and minuses. Right?
Okay. I'll delve in more detail with you off the record and kind of I'll post a detailed post how to become a game developer.
Right.
So on the topic of being a game developer, obviously I told you initially that I'm very naive on the subject. Like there has been a lot of hue and cry about the fact that the work environment of game developers is really demanding. There is no work-life balance. When the deadline is coming, they are like put to a lot of stress. And this is all I'm saying about like the news I have heard about the invested countries. What are your thoughts about this being translated in India? Like, is the situation the same or it is very different?
Well, I can talk about other studios, but we don't have that. I think we have a very flexible working timing. So people coming in at 8, leave at 4. People coming in at 10, leave at 6, and so on and so forth. We do work 6 days a week, Saturdays half day. And we have 1 week break during Diwali. We have a 3 or 4 day break during Christmas. So we have those days off. We do push at times, but it's going to be, that's like once a year. It's not like every weekend. For us, I think it's more important that people are fresher and calmer so that at least work gets done. And, there's a limit to what you're going to push at the end, right?
Right.
So we rather prefer to push in the beginning and have a very kind of relaxed ending. I'm not sure about the other platform, but when you met the big platforms, they have their own submissions and everything. So if you want to push, you need to kind of be ready to work with their timelines to make sure that the work gets done, right? So yeah, I think we have a fairly relaxed, touchwood working style, and I think that's how we have been going, right?
Good for your employees, right? I wish my employees might say कि sir हमें भी बता दें हम या अपना भी तो पूछो अपना कैसे खराब कर रखा है माहौल no
but I mean that's how it is, right? I think, but here's the thing, right? The games that the Western countries are working on,
right?
The amount of dev budgets they have and the timelines they have they're trying to push in so much, right? I mean you're working like crazy to just push something out. And again, but yes, like they have studios which are very tight crunches. There are studios which are very relaxed to do. People decide as to where they want to work, right?
Right, makes sense. So, this is something which I always wanted to know. Where do we stand on a global stage when it comes to game development? Okay, so we understand what is our positioning on like manufacturing, software services, right? This is something everybody kind of understands. But when it comes to game development, where do India stand, in your opinion, on a global stage?
Game development, what is outsourcing? Outsourcing, I think we are doing okay. People in India is one of the basis to outsource. IP side, I think things are looking up. I think we have studios that, that now are, what do you call, slowly the IP is moving global.
Yeah.
Also, if I may add, so now again in games, if you look at real money games or fantasy sports, they're doing very well. And we are not in that space. So they are doing well. What we are doing is, as a traditional game developer, I think slowly our games are being recognized. People understanding that games like this can come out of India. But we still have a long way to go at the top. But when people say, okay, you know what, in a way in game industry is X billion X that, I've been hearing that since 2007, 8. Right? So, yeah, it is that big, but that's everything combined. So we still would have a game that is popular globally.
Yeah.
Right. So, if you look at that, you don't have a game like, Call of Duty or, at Grand Theft Auto. There is not one game, not one IP that has made a global kind of impact.
Yes.
You need a lot of money. You need a lot of push. You need to have those ideas. You need to meet the global standards. Like something that is not possible. Right.
For Indian game developers, right?
But we can push it. But then, that quality push is very high. Right. So if you look at the game side, so that's why we, as an Indian developer, we have been pushing. So if you look at all of the games, starting from 2010, if you look at the game that we have right now, there's been a huge leap in terms of, pushing the boundaries both in dev and art. So, the games that we are working on right now, they're close to AAA, they're double games right now. So, they still try to push the quality, still try to make it look real. So, you'll be able to get that.
You spoke about AAA games, right? So, for our listeners who don't know, AAA games are like the full-fledged games you get on like Xbox or PlayStation, right? So what is the most popular AAA game that India has built?
I would not know. I think there are games being built, but no. AA, right. So AAA, I think we still haven't reached there. And maybe next 2 or 3 years, considering that now, there are more developers coming on PlayStation and Xbox and other platforms, I think we will see that. That is one. There have been games which there were studios working on iOS and Android games, casual games that are doing very well. So you have Ludo and, you have all the other casual games. They are making very good money. But, we are not in its space because we don't work in the casual space.
Right. And see, this is what I think a lot of people don't understand is that games are an art form, right? We are creating art, we are building our soft power. But if you compare this with like the movie industry or any the other kind of entertainment industry like music, we can still give credit to a couple of people who have made a name on the global stage. But when it comes to AAA games or gaming industry, a hardcore gaming industry, there are very few names that we can take. And that's why as Indians, we should be pushing for this direction. We should be thinking, okay, our movies are not getting selected in Oscars, but this is something we all are thinking of, but we should also have the same logic about games as well. Do you agree or disagree?
I think, that would take time. If you look at CD Projekt Red, right, that's one of the biggest game studios out there, and their work is amazing. So they have also taken a long time to reach there, right? So they have also had a path. So we too will have our own path. Slowly as the industry is kind of getting bigger, people are almost studios now working on a lot of different things. I think it's slowly steady, and then it will come. But, again, this is their own personal choice. So, I mean, no one in the US says that, we wanted our movies to come for Oscars, right? So, similarly, no one can say that, we want the game to be, at the top, right? So, unless until there's a very unique concept that catches that even minds and, say something like that is there, then I think there's a very good chance.
Wow, great insights there. And you talk about outsourcing games to India, and that brings us to a very interesting topic, which is your most recent venture, which is called Hello Metaverse. So please, to our listeners, give us the origin story of Hello Metaverse.
So I started with this Japanese company. We were introduced to someone from my mother LinkedIn, and we were talking, and we explained different game ideas. And they had a lot of expertise in VR and entertainment. We had experience in VR with games, so we decided to kind of join hands, and that's how Hello Metaverse kind of came up. And this, so we are currently working on an MVP. I think it's near the end, and we hope to announce it soon. So we are going to have a sort of mini-verse social gaming app for Indian audiences, right?
Right. So it's going to be exclusively for Oculus, or is it going to be open on?
So I think that's going to be for iOS and Android.
Okay. Hello Metaverse is not just completely dedicated on building games for Metaverse, which is being promoted by Meta, right?
Right. So our idea was to have a sort of a Metaverse / social / gaming kind of a area where all the team merge, and we can kind of showcase what you're working, right? So this is one of the first ideas we have. I think, as things move forward, we have a few different ideas that we may explore, specifically in the VR space.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. And in the VR and AR space right now, Apple's new product, Vision, right? That's being one of the hottest topics. So what are your 2 cents on this?
So I think, I haven't tried it on hands. I think I'm just sort of tried it a bit, not much. But I think it's still too early, and the price point is a way too high. So maybe say second or third generation product kicks in, then we might have a decent idea. If your PlayStation VR 2, that's probably for gaming, right? If you have something like a Quest 2 or Quest 3, that's for entertainment, gaming, simulation, fitness, no whatsoever.
Right.
Our Vision Pro is more like entertainment / productivity / computing, right? So I don't see people buying a $3,500 headset just to play games. No one can do that. Right.
Let's see. Pricing the products higher has always worked out for Apple somehow, right?
Yeah.
You remember when iPhone came out, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a very famous, or should I say infamous quote of Steve Ballmer, who said, like, who would pay $500 for a phone, right? Right. And it turned out to be, absolutely wrong. And one of the biggest mistakes that Microsoft ever did. But, like, a lot of people were saying that, VR would never go mainstream, right? VR has a place in the gaming industry, and it's going to be a smaller industry than the gaming itself, right? But now people are asked to, I think, reconsider that statement. So do you think Apple Vision Pro finally has the potential to make the VR or AR world mainstream?
If you look at the first VR, and I think that's dev kits that came out earlier, 2015, 16, that's when the sort of, and VR started even before that. So just in Android, we have different forms. In the VR industry, we have different headsets. So I think we have HTC, we have Pico, we have Meta, we have Apple. So I think all of them sort of knowingly, unknowingly collaborated to the rise of VR, right? And now I think we are in such a space that people are slowly looking at it. So it's still too early to go mainstream. If I want to, I would love to wear it the entire day and work on it and play games because the experience is amazing. Right. But the problem is that's not possible, right? So there are two people. There's one who has experienced it and they love it. There are those who have not experienced. Now, if we come with a price point, I think, 35 rupees is what Quest 2 is, right? And people would people pay for that? Would people pay, something similar for 100, everything on it, right? The same thing is $2,500 is the price of a Apple Vision Pro. I mean, you can get a small car at that, right? Right. So the price point is there, but yeah, we are really become mainstream. This sort of reminds me of the casual game industry. So I was at the game developers conference in 2011-12 in San Francisco, where there was mention about the casual game industry, and it was all okay. It's there. Mobile is still a part of it. So it was still not going down. And 5 years down the line, casual game industry or the mobile game industry, and that became one of the biggest segments. I mean, we never know, right? So, I mean, the next few years to be crazy.
Absolutely. Completely agree there, Abhinav. And we have been talking about VR and AR so much, but for our listeners who don't know what VR and AR is, do you want to give them like a very short description?
Sure. So VR is virtual reality for which you wear a headset. Yeah, whether it is augmented reality for which, maybe you can also see it on your phone. If you look at some of the AI app, you just pull your phone on them, and you'll find some animation or some interaction there happening, right? A lot of brands use that. Virtual reality is more towards, say, productivity, fitness, gaming, entertainment, different areas. VR is used for training as well, right from defense to nursing to simulation on health.
Wow, that makes sense. And this is the rapid fire round time. So we are going to ask you questions. You are supposed to answer very quickly, and we'll let our listeners decide whether you have won it or not. So the first question is console or...
I think console. And that you're also, yeah.
Right. AR or VR?
VR.
Okay. Story driven or gameplay driven?
I think story driven.
Nice. Favorite game of all time?
So I haven't had to pinpoint one. There's virtual games I play all the time. So there's Uncharted 4, which I played. There's the Titanfall 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Modern Warfare 2, 3. I play a lot on the Switch as well. So there's Mario Kart and Zelda and other games. So yeah, I keep switching.
Right. So your favorite console is?
It's between PS5 and Switch right now. That is what I play between them both. Right. Yeah. I also want to try some of the games on Xbox and let's see.
Yeah, mine is Switch by far. Yeah, we have this in office, but I don't let anyone play. Just for the record, we have a Switch in the office for the past 6 to 8 months now, but it hasn't been played even once. So I'm kind of a bad boss I am, right? So last question: single player or multiplayer?
Single player.
Right.
It's sort of enjoy multiplayer. I would not. I think I really don't have that much time to play. So I'd rather prefer it's 4 single player games.
Wow.
maybe I used to love playing multiplayer on either Counter-Strike or Call of Duty or other games, but I think right now it has been single player.
Right. So we have time for just one more question.
Yeah.
What is the best professional advice you have received so far?
I think, different things at different stages. And I think one thing that I have, something that my dad says still, what is the worst that will happen? Right. So, right. So just go for it. And I think, now I think as we are moving ahead, I think we are slowly learning that, the fact that we haven't quit, the fact that we are super persisting and, kind of willing and moving ahead is, proving good, because now we are at a stage where, with so much experience, we now have the freedom to choose which way we want to take. Right?
Yeah. And see, this is definitely what you said is absolutely true. And one of the reasons I started this podcast is lighting the amazing work guys like you are doing. Like, creating a company from scratch and just keep it running, just keeping the lights on is so hard. And as a society, I feel we don't celebrate heroes like you as much as we should, because you are not just contributing in India's GDP. You are creating jobs, you are paying taxes, and you are doing a number of other stuff. So thanks a lot for joining us on this podcast today and explaining so many things to our listeners. It was an immense pleasure.
Well, I hope your listeners enjoyed the podcast, and and I hope I was able to share some advice on my journey. Thank you so much.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Remember, this is only the first part of our conversation with Abhinav. If you enjoyed this episode, please sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. It helps us reach more listeners like you. And don't forget to follow Abhinav on LinkedIn. I'll put a link in the description to keep up with his latest projects and achievements. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep playing. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on Yes Users.